Future Sight, probably one of the most overpowered abilities we've seen in the entirety of One Piece, and an ability that has been talked about ever since Luffy's fight against Katakuri. I think for the most part, why Katakuri's reveal was so massive for the community was not only just because of his Chad design, but it was also because this was the first time that we were exposed to advanced haki, specifically advanced observation in this case. But is there more to Future Sight or advanced observation that we're not aware of yet? I personally think so. And to go more in depth about this, we have to talk about the only confirmed characters that have Future Sight or some variation of it, and those two individuals are Luffy and Katakuri. And obviously we can speculate here and there that the Admirals, Shanks, Rayleigh, Roger, and other top tiers most likely have Future Sight, but as of right now, Luffy and Katakuri are the only confirmed characters to have advanced observation. And we're going to see how their observation has developed in a way to match their personality, and on how both of these individuals see the future differently. First of all, we have to go back to the basic observation, because the base usually tells us what might be next in store in terms of the advanced level. Just like how base ornament is creating an armor around your skin, the next level takes from that and enhances it to a new level. For the most part, we can make speculation about the next level because the base level gives us a basis to go off of. The same will most likely apply to Conqueror's haki as well. Intimidation will be a big aspect for the next level of Conquerors, as well as presence. But going back to observation here, for the most part, observation, unlike ornament, is the only form of haki that we know of that has multiple spectrums. The precognition sphere that allows the user to predict enemy attacks, and the presence subsphere which allows the user to sense the presence of the enemy. The presence subsphere being the more versatile of the two because it has several elements to it, but for the most part, that's it when it comes to observation. And so we go to Katakuri, fan favorite. Katakuri has the very peak of the precognition subsphere of observation, in which he's able to see a couple of seconds into the absolute future. Now there are counters to his ability, like Capone saying that anyone can change the future, but that only applies to specific situations where there's multiple variables and several characters in one place. Another one would be Katakuri interacting with the future that he sees. This can result in the future being changed, so the future is only absolute as far as Katakuri doesn't act upon it. And the third counter would be attacking Katakuri away from his line of sight. Katakuri's Future Sight, as the name indicates, comes from the use of his eyes. If Katakuri is not able to see you, then you are outside the boundaries of the future. And this is the reason why Snake Man was the ultimate counter, because that used Culverin attacks to attack Katakuri from his blind spots. Shiryu's Invisible Fruit is also a very good counter for Future Sight, but overall in a 1v1, Future Sight is almost invincible. And this is one of the reasons why I think fights like Akainu and Aokiji can last for 10 days. It eventually comes down to whose conviction or will is stronger. And so Katakuri's observation was also something that was taken off of his personality. Regardless of the persona that he put on, we know that he was someone who was very technical and precise about the way he handles his fights, right? We've seen Katakuri to be a very calculating individual, and this even goes back to his flashback with Brule, whereas he wanted to become someone strong enough to protect his entire family, and so his observation developed in a way that allows him to do that, to see what happens before it happens, in which he would be able to protect his family. His observation developed towards the precognition subsphere of observation because it was more in tone with his personality. Now Katakuri's observation goes beyond sight. His ability allows him to hear or listen to the future, and this was something that was overshadowed by Katakuri's ability to see into the future. And this happened during his introduction right before he killed Jigoro at the beginning of the Tea Party. Katakuri was able to repeat word for word what Jigoro said before he died. And the same thing happened against his fight against Luffy, whereas before Luffy was about to go gear forth, he was capable of doing the same thing, knowing what Luffy was going to say before Luffy said it. And I think the anime also showed that while he was seeing the future, he was able to hear conversations as well. So his observation goes beyond sight. And this brings me to Luffy's version. Now we know Luffy obtained advanced observation through his fight against Katakuri. Now while Katakuri did say that Luffy can see into the future, I never took it as Luffy could see into the future exactly like Katakuri. The result is the same, but how they get there is different for both characters. And we know this for a fact because Oda showed us how Luffy visualizes the the future. It is a lot different than Katakuri's. Now let's go back to the personality thing again before we go deeper. Just like Katakuri, Luffy's advanced observation was molded by his personality as well. And this goes back to Rayleigh's flashback we got in chapter 892, or it might be 893, I forget. But Rayleigh states that Luffy is more in tone to the emotions of living things, which is why Luffy usually befriends animals and he's usually proficient in telling someone's intent. Emotion has a huge role in Luffy's personality, and that's one of the things we've seen time and time again throughout the course of the story. And Rayleigh tells him what he would do if he encounters someone who has future sight, and Luffy states that it depends on what type of person they are. And given that we've established that emotion is a very big part of Luffy's personality, Luffy would easily fall into the sensory sphere of observation, which is very similar to that of Fujitora, whereas they are able to sense the emotion and the intent. And this also applies to the intent of attacks, which is the foundation of Luffy's advanced observation. And so Luffy, having specialty with the sensory subsphere, and along with his conviction to attain the ability to see into the future, gave him a newfound power which allows him to sense the intent before it happens. It's almost like a combination of both the sensory and the precognition shades of observation. So while Luffy and Katakuri do have advanced observation, they are still different in terms of how they function. Katakuri sees the future, Luffy senses the future. But comment down below what you guys think, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you guys later. Peace.